Welcome to Dripping Water, Pierces Stone, a podcast for seekers and intuitives to relax, receive, and remember the ancient wisdom. Like a water shaping stone, where gentle power, quiet strength can lead to deep transformation. I am Grace New, intuitive guide and feng shui master. Let's begin. Welcome back to Dripping Water Pierces Stone. In this episode, let's talk about luck. The definition of luck, which I went and find, and it says, luck was associated with random outcome. Luck implied mutable, unpredictable forces, a gap in control where chaos or grace could enter. In Chinese, we call luck 运气. Yun means movement, cycles, destiny in motion. And qi, as we all know in feng shui, means vital energy, the life force itself. And most of us, when we hear the word luck, it probably couldn't be furthest from the concept of science. And guess what? In this episode, I'm going to share this fascinating research study that won the 2022 Ig Nobel Prize in Economics, which may just prove that everything you have been taught about success equals hard work is mathematically wrong. So let's dive in. The Nobel Prize, as we all know, is a prestigious, highly respected award recognizing the most significant contributions to humanity in various fields. While the Ig Nobel Prize, which is a parody of the Nobel Prize, it celebrates its unusual, quirky, or at times even weird scientific research topics, with its aim to honor achievements that first make people laugh and then make them think. So in 2022, the Ig Nobel Economics Prize was awarded to 3 Italian scientists for their study titled Talent versus Luck, the Role of Randomness in Success and Failure. So I'm just going to drop this astonishing conclusion right at the start because it really blew my mind. It says, the mathematical explanation says, their research published in Advances in Complex Systems used mathematical models to demonstrate that success is often more influenced by luck than by talent or ability. Let's take a moment to allow a conclusion of this magnitude to sink in. Allow it to ripple through everything we have been taught, everything we've been made to believe that in order to be successful, you need to work hard. You need to go through pains, struggles, obstacles in order to taste the sweet reward at the end. And it also raises so many questions. Like, does it mean you can achieve success without working hard? And how can you do this? Does it also mean people who have money or who we perceive as successful today are simply those who have had tremendous luck in life? So I'm going to share more of how this study was conducted, because through this process, certain truth is going to be revealed, which may completely change how you perceive life, success, and luck. So first of all, why these Italian economists even picked this particular topic was because they have observed a puzzling reality in society. It seems that a person's level of wealth is not in direct proportion to their talent or ability. So if luck or opportunity is showing up equally for everyone, then logically, it should be the people who have the higher IQ or more talented have more opportunities, therefore have more money. Yet we often see this. Exceptionally gifted people usually struggle financially or even make ends meet, while those who can easily make a lot of money or hold a higher level of wealth, well, some of them seems to be perfectly ordinary average people, right? And why? And if a person's level of wealth is in direct proportion to their talent or ability or IQ, and after hundreds of years of evolution, the society we see today should be a meritocracy. And we know this is not the case. Instead, the wealth distribution follows Pareto principle, also known as the 80-20 rule. This means that 20% of people often hold the majority of the wealth. The Pareto principle is named after Italian economist and sociologist Vilfredo Pareto, who observed that approximately 80% of Italy's land was owned by 20% of the population. So this does not only apply to land ownership, but also resources such as mines, diamonds, jewelries, gold, etc. And if you ask any CEOs, that they will know their business, about 80% of the profit flow from just 20% of their core products, expertise, or clienteles. And personally, I know this is also to be true after running Feng Shui Serenity for a decade. And even Microsoft find that if they can fix the top 20% of the reported bugs, they will be able to resolve 80% of the system crashes. This is because it is a law of nature. For example, 80% of ants are forever working. 20% of ants are forever resting. The nature world follows this rule, and so do we. So does our society. So does the wealth distribution. And this proves that one's talent, IQ, or ability to work or even work hard does not equal wealth. So the scientists start asking then, what are the factors or natural laws that would affect or stop people who have higher IQ from making more money or having more wealth? And in order to solve this puzzle, they have set up this agent-based model in a virtual world called ABM. And this is literally a mini society running with 1,000 people in it and set up to be at 20 years old to 60 years old, because this is pretty much the years of our working life. So this ABM will be running for 40 years. And each of these virtual people were given a index to represent their IQ, their talent, between 0 to 1. Most of them are between 0.3 to 0.9. This setup very much reflects the real distribution of IQ. For those of you who do not know, that 95.4% of the total population's IQ are between 70 to 130. And it's very rare for people to have an IQ over 145 or under 55. So if this is a graph, you'll see most of us, which is around 100, are kind of congregate in the middle, the peak of that curve, okay? And they have also set up a couple of other things, which is green dot represents lucky event, where red dot represents unfortunate event. such as disasters, calamity, accident, illnesses, anything that is beyond our human control. And when the system starts running, everyone has equal wealth, 10 units. You can think this is $10 or 10,000. It's 10 units, okay? So in this mini virtual society, these 1,000 men do not move. The only thing moving are the red and green dots, the lucky or the unfortunate events. So when they encounter green dots, it means opportunities for them to double their wealth from 10 to 20. And how much they can increase the wealth is determined by their index, which is their IQ. So for example, if it is 0.6, which is right in the middle where most people's IQ are, and you have a 60% of chance to double your wealth. And this means your knowledge, your skills, your ability to work hard consistently, these would be the turbo boost when opportunities showing up. And of course, if you have an index of 0.9, then you will have a higher chance than 0.6 of creating more wealth. But what is actually really interesting is if you don't meet the green dot, it doesn't matter what your index is. There is no chance for you to double your wealth. And when met with the red dot, no matter what index you have, you lose half of your wealth. Your wealth will drop from 10 to 5 units. And the reason why the index, your IQ index, does not apply is because when the calamity or disaster or illness accidents hits, your talent and ability become less relevant. Once the system was set up, it ran for 40 years. So what happens after 40 years? And here's the result. Out of the 1,000 people, the highest wealth belongs to one person. His wealth is 2,600 units, and it's 128 times of the average wealth for the rest of 999 people. Ranked number 2 is also one person. His wealth is 1,300 units, and most people's wealth is towards 0. So after they've reviewed this and did some calculation, they discover that this result perfectly aligned with the 80-20 rule, where 20% of people hold 80% of the wealth, and the remaining 20% is distributed among the majority of the population. And when they look deeper into those people who hold that 80% of wealth, for example, that the wealthiest person ranked number 1 who has the 2,600 units, his index is 0.61, which equals the IQ of 105. So a little bit above average, right in the middle. While the person who has the highest index of 0.9, high IQ, has almost 0 to his name. What does this tell us? It reveals this important truth that you do not need to be a genius to make money. In fact, average intelligence with straight smarts might be the perfect combination and even an advantage when it comes to making money or creating wealth. And this kind of explained why we often see those people who finish PhD struggle to find jobs, while many successful entrepreneurs never finished school. And this point is not against education, but to emphasize it is important to gain a certain level of training, knowledge, and intelligence to navigate the world, but not too much, because it can trap you. And sometimes too much learning can really send you down to a rabbit hole, narrowing your vision when success requires seeing the bigger picture. And when the scientists delved even deeper into the wealthiest person's life trajectory during the 40-year span, they discovered that the main reason that he can grow his wealth from 10 to 2,600 units is not so much due to his index, 0.61, in other words, his ability or talent, but because he has encountered a series of green dots back to back. In other words, lucky events. And he has not experienced any red dots at all during these 40 years. So on his 20s to 30s, he experienced one lucky event. And just before he turned 40, suddenly he experienced 3 consecutive lucky events back to back. And it seems that he has also acted upon them and seized opportunity to grow his wealth. So his wealth has significantly increased during this decade. And when he is in his 40 to 50 decade, I always wanting to say luck pillar. It's like a luck pillar, isn't it, in our destiny chart? So during the 40 to 50 luck pillar, he experienced one lucky event. And again, on his 50 to 60s decade, or luck pillar, and he has experienced again 3 lucky events in quick succession. So this has helped him to reach the 2,600, that kind of level. And as I mentioned, during these 40 years, he didn't encounter even one red dot, an unlucky event. And on the contrary, the unluckiest person, what his life trajectory looks like, he has experienced only one lucky event, but experienced continuously 14 unlucky events. So by the time he was 40, his wealth is already reduced to 0. And ironically, his talent and ability index is 74. Very smart and intelligent. But unfortunately, luck is not on his side. So this shows you that when it comes to wealth status, the main determinator is not your intelligence, but luck. And if you think this one-time result is not necessarily accurate, so the system is actually run once, and after this, they have run it again and again for 10,000 times. And guess what? The result is exactly the same. It aligned with the 80-20 rule. It aligns with the world we see today, that 20% of people hold 80% of the wealth. It seems unfair, isn't it? And even if we could redistribute the wealth to the entire population equally, and after 40 years or certain time, it will automatically revert back to 80-20. So this leaves us a very important question. If this is the law of nature, how can we align with this rhythm? How we can best create our success, live our destiny in the most empowering way? So the purpose of this research study certainly is not to tell us to give up, but to show us how we can craft and master our energy in a way that is also supported by the natural rhythm. And this means that we need to know how to leverage our limited time, energy, and resources, and in order to achieve the most astonishing result. So at this point, I really would love to know your particular thought or reflection after hearing the findings from this award-winning research. And at the very end of this episode, that you can click on the link of leave me a comment and share your view. And I would love to know. So before I end this episode, I'd like to share 3 my personal reflections as a businesswoman, as a feng shui master. And the number one thing that I realized or give me a refreshed view about the 80-20 rule, apart from what we have just shared in the episode, is that 80-20 rule is a law of nature. Therefore, it is not invented or created by human, and this is the reason why we cannot change it. We can only respect it and bow to it. Just like in Feng Shui, that we bow to the movement of qi. And if you recall that at the start of the podcast, I mentioned in Chinese we call luck yun qi, and yun means movement, cycles, destiny in motion, and qi means vital energy and life force itself. It means that we need to obey the life force itself. It doesn't mean that we have to resign ourselves to fate and sit there and do nothing, but by understanding it, by awareing of it, by knowing precisely how it works. And this is where your 0.61% of the intelligence and talent comes into play. You do not need to be super smart, but as far as you are intelligent and smart enough to know this is not something that you can destroy or change or fight, but simply use your intelligence to cultivate, harness, or manipulate to your advantage. In other words, you can drop the fight and get on the same side of the universe. Go with this universal law because it is easier. When it comes to excellence, achieving successful result, it is probably more 20% in that will produce 80% of the output. Not 110% that we have always believed that this is supposed to be the way to go. Be clever about it. Now you know about the 80-20 rule. Number 2 is avoid the risk of encountering unfortunate event. We have all seen the details of the wealthiest person and the least lucky person in this research. And this means how you are able to foresee or avoid being in the wrong place at the wrong time, where there is accidents, calamity, disasters. And this is where we can see it in your destiny chart very clearly and can pinpoint very accurate timing depending on your luck pillar. For example, in 2025, year of the snake, because snake is a traveling star, so if your destiny chart also have tiger or monkey, this forms a special configuration that we call fire penalty. And this is the time or the year or specific month we can pinpoint that is probably not the best timing for you to travel, especially to the risky areas or the area that tend to have the unfortunate event, particularly in 2025. And at the time of recording this episode, the national road toll in 2025 has reached a 15-year high. And from the Chinese astrology perspective, and there is a reason that I have just shared. So the importance to avoid the risk of encountering unfortunate events to a certain extent is more important than even encountering the random chance of the green dots, the fortunate event. And this also includes health. If you are vulnerable, which we all are at a specific time throughout our life trajectory, then we need to pay more attention to our external surroundings, our external environment, including our home. So the vital life force or the qi within your home becomes extremely important and critical for you to avoid those unfortunate events. Number 3, maximize the chance for lucky events. Once you manage to stay away from the unfortunate event, then you can start to create or design your life to attract more green dots, to be in the proximity of where the lucky event is likely to occur. And there is a few elements at play here. In order to enhance your luck in life, first, you need to recognize it. And as a destiny mentor who has decoded thousands of the destiny chart over the past decade, I can reveal an insight. Is your heaven luck was uniquely encoded from the moment you draw your first breath. And when we review your ability to create wealth, one of the important things is to look at your inherent luck pillars. In Chinese, we call 命好不如运好, which means that your luck pillar is more important even than your natal chart, because this is where we can recognize the golden timing. In other words, when those lucky events or green dots to occur. And once you recognize this timing, there is a much higher chance for you to seize the opportunity, just like that wealthiest person in the research study. And of course, there is also this very important learning coming from the research study is to balance between the in-depth study versus how you can best broaden your horizon. Because when you expand your vision, you may discover more opportunities rather than simply believe that polishing on the same skill set will earn you that job promotion or the wealth creation opportunities. And this is a matter of opening your eyes to the world, connecting with other people, where your individual mindset, attitude towards life, and your ability to magnetize becomes pivotal. And it is those who consistently hold the belief that they are lucky in life tend to both attract and recognize more green dots. In other words, more lucky event in their life. And it is those people who have the magical ability that can perceive even a not so lucky event into opportunity. And this is something that we are in full control to cultivate. And there you have it. These are my 3 reflections about this research finding that is truly fascinating. And I hope that this is the episode that you can come back and listen to it again and again to understand the rule of the game, so you can become a brilliant player, to become more magnetic to those fortunate events. I will see you in the next episode.